Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. I am your host, Darius Cessna. Thank you very much for joining me whenever it is and wherever you may be. Welcome to our latest installment of the Cleveland Sports Show. And man, what a week it's been in the world of sports. NBA Finals, WNBA Finals wrapping up, MLB Playoffs in full swing, no pun intended, and the Browns are 3-1. It's been an amazing week in the world of sports, and we have a lot to talk about, so stick to this Cleveland Sports Show episode. First, our intro.
It's over! Cleveland is the city of champions once again! The Cavaliers are NBA champions! At the wall, looking up, it's gone! Francisco Lindor with a 3-run homer in the fourth, and it's 6-0 Cleveland. Baker wants to throw it. Mayfield goes deep for the end zone. Odell Beckham, he's got it! It's a Cleveland touchdown!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Darius Cessna of NordoniaHills.News, and the Cleveland Sports Show starts right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Cleveland Sports Show. Once again, I am your host, Darius Cessna. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to our latest installment of the Cleveland Sports Show. As I mentioned, lots to discuss this week, but first, it's time for, you guessed it, here's that theme, our sports fact of the day. Today is October 9th, 2020, and on this day, 15 years ago, in 2005, the Houston Astros win the National League Division Series, MLB Playoffs, in Game 4 by downing the Atlanta Braves 7-6 in an 18-inning marathon at Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas. The Atlanta Braves lead 6-1 heading into the bottom of the 8th inning. Astros first baseman Lance Berkman slugs a grand slam to cut the deficit to 6-5. In the 9th inning, catcher Brad Ausmus belts up a 2-out solo homer to tie the score at 6 apiece. With the Astros running short of players, Roger Clemens enters the game as a pinch hitter in the 15th inning in overtime and appears in relief for only the second time in a career that began in 1984. He hurls 3 scoreless innings. The game and the series end on Chris Burke's home run off of Joey Devine to give Houston a 7-6 win over the Atlanta Braves in overtime on this day back in 2005. And ladies and gentlemen, the MLB playoffs have been fantastic so far this year. We're going to keep you updated with what's going on in the MLB. Yes, sadly, our Indians are out of the MLB playoffs after that loss to the New York Yankees in the 2-game series. However, we still have a lot to cover with the MLB and that playoff, all the playoff games going on around the United States with Major League Baseball. But first, it's time to take a trip to England and the Premier League. Match day 5 of 38 is upon us this weekend, and man, we've had some crazy scores this past week. Most notably, Aston Villa defeating Liverpool this past Sunday by a final score of 7-2. Yes, Aston Villa. I don't know if a lot of your people outside of the who are not fans of soccer, essentially, I don't know if anyone's really heard of this team if you're not a soccer fan. And they defeated Liverpool, one of the most iconic, popular teams in the Premier League. 7-2. I'm not kidding. Google search it. It is a 7-2 score. Mohamed Salah scored both of the goals for Liverpool, the Egyptian superstar. However, it was a complete team effort for Aston Villa. They had 4 different players score 7 goals. Ollie Watkins had a hat-trick, 4th-minute goal, a 22nd-minute goal, and a 39th-minute goal. 3 goals in one half. Extremely amazing. And Jack Grealish, also of Aston Villa, with 2 goals in less than 10 minutes. One in the 66th minute of the game and one in the 75th minute of the game. A complete domination for Aston Villa over Liverpool. Let's get to our standings this week in the Premier League. Everton, 4 matches, 4 wins for them. So they are in 12th place, they have 12 points and are in first place in the Premier League. They are the only team right now in the Premier League who have reached at least 10 points. They are sitting on 12 points right now. Aston Villa has now moved to second in the Premier League in standings after that demolition of Liverpool. 3 matches played for them, 3 wins for Aston Villa. Leicester City comes in at third place with a record of 3-0-1 as well. They are at 9 points. Arsenal coming in at fourth with that same record, as well as Liverpool. They are in 5th place. Tottenham Hotspur, Chelsea, Leeds United, and Newcastle round out that top 9 for you in this week's standings for the Premier League. Top goal scorers in the league, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the English native, still remains at the top. However, Son Heung-min has finally joined him. Each of these players with 6 goals. They are tied for first place in goal scoring for the Premier League. Jamie Vardy and Mohamed Salah come in at second. They are tied for second, each of those players with 5 goals. Our upcoming matches this weekend for match day 5 of 38 for the Premier League include Everton taking on Liverpool. Let's see if Liverpool can bounce back after that horrible loss last week against Aston Villa. We have West Brom going up against Burnley, Chelsea facing Southampton, Newcastle United going up against Manchester United, Leicester City taking on Aston Villa, Sheffield United against Fulham, Manchester City against Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Brighton, Tottenham taking on West Ham. If you like ham, well, that might be a good game to watch. Leeds United taking on the Wolves. And that concludes our Premier League updates for this week. We'll get back to you on the scores from this week in our next episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. However, it's time to move back to the United States and take a look at the MLS. Regular season is still going strong in the MLS. Right now, we had a lot of games this past Wednesday, including one with the Columbus Crew. They unfortunately lost to the Montreal Impact this past Wednesday. Final score in that one, Montreal 2, Columbus 1. Yassi Zardes with a 45 goal in the 45th minute. However, it was just too little too late in this game for Columbus. It was actually the game tying goal at the end of the half for Columbus. However, Bojan Krikic in the 74th minute with a penalty kick sealed the deal in this one for Montreal. The overall standings in the MLS, Toronto has now overtaken the Eastern Conference. They are in first place in the MLS Eastern Conference. And for the Columbus Crew, we mentioned last week how they were in first place. It just gets worse for them because they're not even in second place. Philadelphia is still in second place. They have 16 matches played. They have 9 wins, 4 draws, and 3 losses for 31 points. Columbus is right behind Philly in third place. Same record as Philadelphia with the same amount of points, obviously. Orlando City coming in at fourth place, followed by NYCFC, New England, and the New York Red Bulls in the top 7 this week for the MLS Eastern Conference. For all of you Ohio soccer fans and Cincinnati soccer fans in particular, FC Cincinnati has continued to struggle. Only 13 points on the season for them, 3 wins, 4 draws, and 9 losses for FC Cincinnati. Their most recent game also took place this past Wednesday, unfortunately, with a loss in Philadelphia to the Union. 3 second-half goals for Philadelphia in that game this past Wednesday. So it was a rather competitive game in the first half, but as I mentioned in the second half, Philly just blew this one wide open out of the arc. It was over after the 80th minute. And those are the standings this week for the Eastern Conference, as I mentioned. In the West, Seattle still reigns, and they are the first team in the Western Conference to reach 30 points, thanks to a record of 9-3-3, 9 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses, as I mentioned, with 30 points. Portland coming in right behind them, 3 points behind them to be more specific, a record of 8-3-4, followed by Sporting Kansas City, Minnesota United, LAFC, FC Dallas, and San Jose. That's the top 7 for you in the MLS this week. In the Western Conference, For our top scorers in the MLS, Diego Rossi still leads the pack, the LAFC forward with 14 goals on the season. Yassi Zardes of our Columbus Crew coming in with 11 goals in second place. In third place, tied for third place, is Bradley Wright Phillips of LAFC and Raul Ruidiaz of the Seattle Sounders. The league leaders in assists so far in the MLS, Alejandro Pozuelo of Toronto FC with 9 assists on the season. Looks like he's going to be the first player to reach 10 if all goes well this week for him. We have 4 players tied in second place for assists. Brian Rodriguez of LAFC, Jordan Morris of Seattle, Pedro Santos of the Columbus Crew, and Sebastian Blanco of Portland, all tied for second place, each of those 4 players with 6 assists. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our MLS coverage. Before we wrap it up, I just would like to tell you, upcoming schedule for the Columbus Crew include this upcoming Sunday with a matchup against Orlando City down in Florida. Columbus will then head to Cincinnati for another Ohio Derby matchup against FC Cincinnati before returning home on Sunday, the 18th of October, for a matchup with NYC FC. And for FC Cincinnati, their upcoming schedule includes a matchup this upcoming Sunday with Toronto FC, the first place team in the Eastern Conference. That'll definitely be a great challenge for FC Cincinnati. They will then play host to the Columbus Crew for Ohio Derby Part 2, which I mentioned previously. That Ohio Derby will be on Wednesday, October 14th at 7:30 p.m., and then Cincinnati will play host to DC United, Minnesota, and Sporting Kansas City. So Cincinnati, with 5 home games coming up, we'll see what they will be able to do at home in these next few games. It'll definitely be a great challenge for them going up against some quality teams in both the Western and Eastern Conference of the MLS. That's right, it's the NBA Finals 2020. Time to discuss that for a little bit. The Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James and company, are 1 win away from capturing their 17th franchise title. If the Lakers win this title, that means that they will be tied for most championships of all time with, guess who? Yep, you got it, the Boston Celtics. Each of those franchises would have 17 banners, just a phenomenal accomplishment, and it would be LeBron James's 4th ring, but we can't get Clipperitis, as I call it, and being prima donnas and just assuming that the Lakers are going to walk away victorious. Most likely will, however, not entirely sure yet. This Miami Heat team has a lot of fight, and they are definitely going to give it all in an elimination game. Tonight, Los Angeles is up 3-1, looking to close this series tonight and get LeBron James his 4th career NBA championship. The last time we talked, only one game had happened. That was Game 1, where the Lakers blew out the Heat by 18 points. We're not going to worry about that game. We're going to talk about Game 2. Much more competitive game. However, LA were just dominant in that first half of Game 2 last Friday. LA outscored Miami by 6 in the first quarter and then by 8 in the second quarter, total by 14 in that first half. Miami was able to make the third quarter a little competitive. However, with a tight fourth quarter, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and company were able to pull away in game number 2. Final score, 124-114 in favor of the Lakers. LeBron James finishes game 2 with 33 points in 39 minutes. He was an assist and a rebound shy of a triple-double. However, Anthony Davis, his co-star, finished with 32 points, 14 rebounds, and an assist. Double-double for Anthony Davis, all in 40 minutes. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has had a very strong series so far in the finals. He finished Game 2 with 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in 32 minutes. You know, we obviously know those aren't great that's not a great stat line, for an NBA All-Star or anything like that, but a great It's definitely great for a role player, especially someone who can be a third option outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. Rajon Rondo has just been a huge boost for the Lakers, just as immense as you could imagine for Frank Vogel, head coach of the Lakers and company. Rondo had a double-double, 16 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds, all in 26 minutes. And Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma combining for 17 points. Great team effort in this one for the Los Angeles Lakers. They shot 50% from the field. They shot 34% from three. They shot about 58 to 59% from the free throw line and out-rebounded Miami by 7. They also gained 10 more offensive rebounds than Jimmy Butler and the Heat in Game 2. In Game 3, however, it was a completely different story. Down 2-0, and with their backs against the wall, Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat did what? You guessed it. They responded, and they responded rather emphatically. Jimmy Butler, with his 40 points, 13 assists, and 11 rebounds in Game 3. I learned this week thanks to Max Kellerman of ESPN for his take. This is the first ever NBA Finals performance where a player has had a triple-double, a 40-point triple-double, at least 40, and has won. He is the only player to have a 40-point triple-double and win a game. That is just outstanding. 40 points, 13 assists, 11 rebounds in 45 minutes. That is Jimmy Buckets right there. Oh, yeah, and he also had Tyler Hero and Kelly Olynyk stepping up to combine for 34 points. Jay Crowder had 12 points in 34 minutes. Myers Leonard and Duncan Robinson combined for 20 points. This game had Miami Heat culture written all over it. Miami shot 50% from the field. They had 12 three-pointers. They shot 91% from the free throw line. They were out-rebounded by the Lakers, but when you have LeBron and Anthony Davis on the same team, it's hard to not get out-rebounded. However, Lakers, really, this was surprising. 19 turnovers. You have guys like LeBron and Rajon Rondo, controlling your offense for the most part. And the fact that, 19 turnovers were committed, that was a little, certainly raised my eyebrows when I was watching Game 3. And Miami outscored Los Angeles in the paint the margin was quite large. 52 to 34 points in the paint in favor of Miami. And as I mentioned, Jimmy Butler with a fantastic game. Anthony Davis was lacking in Game 3. Only 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists for Anthony Davis. Markieff Morris and Kyle Kuzma combined for 38 points, but that was about it. LeBron James was the top scorer with 25. However, it was all a little too late for LA. They just could never get anything going. And were actually outscored in all of the quarters of game number 3. And here was what Jimmy Butler had to say in terms of, staying locked in, staying mentally and physically prepared, especially in a season like no other. Here was some post-game audio from Jimmy Butler on what he had to say on that respective topic.
My trainer, James Scott, does a great job of making sure that I'm strong enough to play through contact and just be conditioned. That's what we do here in the Heat. We pride ourselves on that, and I love it. I love the work, and I tell Coach all the time, I'm ready for this. Like, the biggest stage, whatever you ask me to do, I can do it.
Jimmy Butler certainly did it in game number 3. Phenomenal 40-point performance. The only player in NBA Finals history with a 40-point triple-double to win a game. That is just an unbelievable stat, and Jimmy Butler is the guy who did it. Game 4, competitive. This was a fantastic game. Unfortunately, I had a soccer game with Nordonia Hills. It was great to play out in, especially as it gets colder, great to play some soccer. However, I missed the NBA Finals, so I was a little bit disappointed about that. And it was such a competitive game, as I said. Lakers, LeBron, get the victory in Game 4, 102-96. I did expect the Heat to get at least one game in these NBA Finals. I did not expect Jimmy Butler and company to get swept. I thought they would get at least one game, maybe two. However, I was not shocked when I saw the final result of Game 4 and how it ended in LeBron and Anthony Davis's way. LeBron and Anthony Davis combined for 50 points in this one. Anthony Davis playing 42 minutes, LeBron playing 39 minutes. LeBron James finishing with 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists with that double-double. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope came up huge down the stretch for the Los Angeles Lakers. He finished with 15 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. Danny Green and Markieff Morris combined for 19 points, and Rajon Rondo had 5 assists and 7 rebounds in this win for the LA Lakers. In terms of the Heat, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, the only two players to score at least 20 points. Duncan Robinson came in at third place in terms of scoring in Game 4 for the Miami Heat with 17 points and 3 assists. Bam Adebayo, after not having played in either Games 2 or 3, came back for Game 4 and had a rather strong performance, I would say, relatively, after coming back from a shoulder injury. Can't pronounce that. 7 rebounds for him to go along with an assist and 15 total points, all in 33 minutes. The Heat will still be without Goran Dragic. He had that plantar fascia injury in his foot, and he's still unlikely to come back in these NBA Finals, as that was a major injury for him. What have I seen from these last few NBA Finals games? Well, now, seeing that LA has out-rebounded Miami in all of the games so far in this series, it shows you and it harps on how rebounding is still essential for winning in the NBA today. A lot of people say, oh, well, you don't have to rebound the basketball as long as you score. Sometimes your best defense is a fantastic offense. And the Lakers are showing us that's not necessarily the case. Especially, it does help to have, floor generals all over this Lakers team. It's primarily with LeBron James and Rajon Rondo. But there are so many other veterans who can see the floor and see what is going on, and you have a quality head coach in Frank Vogel, along with Jason Kidd on the sidelines as an assistant coach. The Los Angeles Lakers are just the better team here. The Miami Heat, we respect them, and they're going to be a force in the Eastern Conference and a threat in the Eastern Conference for years to come. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, and company have created a fantastic culture down in South Beach, and now with Jimmy Butler, this is the organization Jimmy Butler has been dying to play for. This is the type of organization that just craves a work ethic of someone like Jimmy Butler, and he has found a home in Miami. And this Heat team, they can shoot the lights out. However, they do not have that paint presence who can just dominate on anyone. Yes, you could say it's Bam Adebayo, but don't forget, who is Bam Adebayo going up against? He's going up against Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, LeBron James. What is one thing all three of those guys have? It's experience. They know how to stop Bam Adebayo. This is Bam Adebayo's first playoff run. Dwight Howard, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis have been in the playoffs multiple times. It's just that experience factor. The Lakers are the older, more intelligent, and more experienced basketball team, and that's really my big takeaway of this series and what's been going on. Here's what LeBron James had to say. He talked about how this was one of the biggest games of his career in this post-game interview brought to you by the House of Highlights YouTube channel. He talked about, more specifically, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. As I mentioned, Caldwell-Pope finishing Game 4 with a total of 15 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. He came up clutch for LeBron and the Lakers down the stretch, and here's what LeBron had to say about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and his efforts.
I think at the end of the day, if you're on the floor in crunch time, then I believe in you. Who's ever out on the floor with me, I believe can make plays, and tonight was a case in point of KCP. Got stage ready, who works on his craft, and like you said, that three in front of their bench was a huge three. And obviously, the drive at the end of the shot clock was two big back-to-back plays, in the fourth quarter where we needed to continue to score versus this team.
And Lakers are not done yet for their championship quest. Game 5 of the 2020 NBA Finals is tonight live on ABC at 9 p.m. from the bubble in Orlando, Florida. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat looking to keep their season alive, and LeBron James and his Los Angeles Lakers looking to win the franchise's 17th NBA title and the 4th title overall for LeBron James. Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight at 9 on ABC. Also wanted to have you guys listen to a soundbite from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and obviously he's been having a huge series, as we've mentioned. And he talked about how he's not going to let the thoughts of winning a championship distract him from the business that he has to take care of in this series. Here is the soundbite from Caldwell-Pope on that overall thought.
I try not to think about it as much as possible because I know it's gonna take me from take my mind somewhere I don't need to be. But I'm just trying to stay focused within the moment. Right now we got practice to go over our cleanups, and what we're gonna do for the next game. And I just want to be in the moment right now and just continue to stay humble, and just stay ready.
And if Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can stay ready and the Lakers can stay ready, it seems like they will be on their way to another championship for this historic franchise. And our final segment of news in the basketball world is with the WNBA. The Seattle Storms are your 2020 WNBA champions. The bubble in Bradenton is finally over, and the WNBA finals were rather short. Seattle faced off against the Las Vegas Aces in Game 1 last Friday and defeated them by 13 points, 93-80. In Game 2, another margin of victory by 13 points. This time it was 104-91 with the score favoring the Storm. And in Game number 3, the final game of the series for Seattle, it meant a sweep for them. They defeated Las Vegas by 33 points, a 59-92 blowout for the Seattle Storm. Breanna Stewart with 26 points in 25 minutes to go along with 4 rebounds. Sue Bird only with 5 points. However, she dished out 7 assists and played in 22 minutes. Sue Bird, now a 4-time WNBA champion, and Breanna Stewart capturing another title, WNBA title. The Seattle Storm, as I mentioned, your 2020 NBA champions. Congratulations to them. As we all know, Seattle winning the title 2 years ago against Elena Delle Donne and the Washington Mystics. A huge success in Bradenton, Florida with this WNBA bubble. It looks like the NBA will also have a successful Florida bubble as well in Orlando. So it's great to see, even with all of the nervous tensions with the coronavirus, so glad to see that we can still have champions being crowned this year. Hopefully we can have some baseball champions being crowned as well. The League Championship Series in the MLB will be underway this week. Game 1 of one of those series will be on Sunday, with the time to be determined. We do know that the Houston Astros will be playing. However, we do not know their opponent. It will be either the New York Yankees or the Tampa Bay Rays. We do have we have 2 series in the League Championship Series to determine who will play in the World Series. The other series is the Atlanta Braves going up against Clayton Kershaw and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1 of that series will be on Monday, October 12th. Time for that one still to be determined. As I mentioned, unfortunately, our Indians not in it. However, the overall standings for the teams still left in the MLB playoffs. The Rays, with a 40-20 record on the season, they finished first in the American League East division. The Yankees were right behind them at 33-27. The Astros actually surprisingly finished with a losing record, but still finished second in the American League West division. They had a record of 29-31. They were 4-6 in their last 10 regular season games. However, they finished second place and are now in the League Division Series, or Championship Series of the MLB Playoffs. And the LA Dodgers had another fantastic season, 43-17, 8-2 in their last 10 games of the regular season, and they were 21-9 at home and 22-8 on the road. Just dominant. Clayton Kershaw and company dominant throughout this season. And our World Series will begin. Game 1 of the World Series will begin on Tuesday, October 20th. Cannot wait for that. We will, in our next installment of the Cleveland Sports Show, we will be talking about the World Series, times, who will be playing, and we'll wrap up the League Championship Series of the MLB as well. Our final segment of the Cleveland Sports Show, Nordonia fans and Browns fans, you were probably talking about this one play made by someone you may know from the Nordonia Hills community. I'll have you listen to this clip.
First and goal, 1:42 to play. Deals, and that time it is intercepted. Denzel Ward will wrap it up for Cleveland.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Denzel Ward, Nordonia's own, with a crucial interception in Week 4 of the NFL season in a Cleveland Browns dominant win over Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. What a win this was for the Cleveland Browns. It looked over, honestly, after the first quarter. The Browns were struggling to put points on the board. Dallas had already scored 2 touchdowns. The Browns were struggling. The Cowboys already had 14 points on the board. However, the second quarter, absolute dominance for Cleveland. They scored 24 points alone in the second quarter. The Browns then started off the second half on the right foot as well. 10 unanswered points in favor of Cleveland in the third quarter. Dominant. There was a point in this game, Cleveland was up 41-14 on Jerry Jones's Cowboys. That's right, our Cleveland Browns were up 41-14. And then the fourth quarter happened, where Dak Prescott and company made a late comeback. They outscored the Browns 24-8 in the fourth quarter. However, as I mentioned, that interception by Denzel Ward helped save the game. And before that, another critical touchdown led the Browns to escape this one from Odell Beckham Jr. He was phenomenal in this game against Dallas, and a lot of people were saying, hey, we might be trading, Browns might be trading Odell Beckham this offseason. We don't know. Well, Odell Beckham is proving that he belongs on this Browns roster, and if Baker Mayfield can make those connections, this Browns team will certainly be having success in the near future. More specifically on Odell Beckham Jr., here's what he had to say in his post-game press conference in Dallas after that critical touchdown to give the Browns a comfortable cushion, as well as how he was feeling and how the Browns were feeling as Dak Prescott and the Cowboys were inching closer to them in that fourth quarter, and what the Browns' mindset was during that tumultuous time.
Not really at all. Just knowing we got a football game we got to put away. I think we could find a way to not put ourselves in that position offensively and defensively, come up with the stops, and offensively keep the drives going. So that's NFL football. The game's never over. From my experience, I've seen games like that happen and lose. So just happy we found a way to win.
And Browns certainly happy to find a way to get their third win of the season, once again with a 49-38 win over the Dallas Cowboys. 49 points for the Browns, the most points they've scored so far this season. Browns have been putting, after, if we take away that Week 1 loss to the Ravens, let's just take that loss and put it in the garbage. You look at all the the other 3 games, which were all wins for them. They put up 35 against the Bengals, 34 against the Washington football team, and then 49 against the Dallas Cowboys. The Browns, ladies and gentlemen, are scoring the football with efficiency. However, they have been a little bit shaky on the defensive side. They gave up in that 35-point performance against Cincinnati. They gave up 30 points. In the 34-point game against Washington, they gave up 20 points. And then they gave up 30 points in week number 4 this past week, to be more specific, to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. The Browns will have a huge challenge for them coming up this Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Indiana with a very strong defense, Browns with a very strong offense. We'll see what happens. This will be a great battle in downtown Cleveland at First Energy Stadium. Game time for this one is a little bit later in the day at 4:25 p.m. from First Energy Stadium. Indianapolis Colts and Cleveland Browns in Week 5 of the NFL schedule. The upcoming games for the Browns will include, after their matchup in Indianapolis, against Indianapolis at home, they will be on the road for 2 straight games. Their first game at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, going up against Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, who had a bye week this week due to some players for the Tennessee Titans being tested positive with COVID-19. The second game in that 2-game road trip for the Browns will be back in Ohio for Ohio Derby in the NFL, Part 2, against the Cincinnati Bengals, and first overall pick, Joe Burrow. And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our latest episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you so much for joining me this week. We have a lot I wanted to tell you about how you can access some of my work on NordoniaHills.News, as well as past episodes of the Cleveland Sports Show. I'll tell you all of that right now. Head on to NordoniaHills.News if you aren't already. Go to the Contributors tab. Go to the second name down. My name is Darius Sethna. There you can see past episodes of the Cleveland Sports Show, articles I've written, did some player bios this past summer. I also conducted some interviews related to the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team. And if you go on my Twitter account, at Nordonia Sports, you can find all of my work on there as well. You can also check out the Cleveland Sports Show on Spotify. We are on the go at the Cleveland Sports Show, wherever you are. If you're in Texas, California, Oregon, Florida, it doesn't matter where you are. Anywhere in the world, you can listen to the Cleveland Sports Show on Spotify. Just type in my name, DARAYUSSETHNA, on Spotify, and you will be able to access the show. The Cleveland Sports Show is also on YouTube. Just type in Cleveland Sports Show, DARAYUSSETHNA. You'll be able to access all of my episodes from the Cleveland Sports Show on there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my episode for the Cleveland Sports Show, our 82nd edition of the show. Thank you so much for joining me and being in this process with me. Appreciate all of you guys for taking the time to listen to me this week. Have a fantastic week. Go Browns. We'll have a lot to talk about next week with the MLB. And again, have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, everyone.